Alright guys, so here we have the law of sines. And when you guys derived it, did it look more like this one or more like this one? The top one, alright. Now, this is a true statement, but we can also write it like this. When would you use it like this? When would you do it like this? It depends on what you're trying to solve for, okay? So, if you are trying to solve for a missing angle, then you want the angles on top. And then if you're trying to solve for a missing side, then you want the sides on top. And then one thing that's really important to know is as we're dealing with this general triangle here, that's angle A is always capitalized, and its corresponding side length, side A, is a straight across from it. So, angle A, side A. Angle B, side B, angle C, side C. So just remember that if it's capitalized like this, that's meaning angle A. But if it's lowercase like this, then that's referring to side B. And just remember that letters are always across from each other, okay? Alright, let me show you some examples of how we're going to use this. Alright, solve triangle ABC given that angle A is 36 degrees, angle B is 48 degrees, and side A is 8. But it doesn't give us a picture, so guess what we're going to have to do? Draw a picture! Alright, and I'm given two of the angles, so I'll try to draw it as best as I can given those two angles, but it won't be perfect, and that's okay. So I'm going to call this one angle A, and this one angle B, which makes this top one angle C. This one's 36 degrees, angle B is 48 degrees. And then I'm also told that side A is 8. Where do I put side A? It's going across from angle A, so it's going to be right here. This angle is side A. Oh, I put 8, but that's what it is, side A, okay? Alright, now guys, if it tells us that we need to solve a triangle, what does it mean that we need to find? All the sides and all the angles. So guys, what's missing here? Well, we don't know C, so I need to figure out what C is. We also don't know side B or side C. Alright, now side C is actually pretty easy, right? Because we've already talked about how to do that. Brenda, tell us again, how do we figure out side C? Alright, sorry, not side C. Angle C is easy. How do we figure out angle C? We have two of the angles. What do all the angles add up to? So we'll take 180 minus 36 minus 48. Someone's already done that, right? What is it? 96. So guys, is this a right triangle? No, so we can't use like SOHCAHTOA or Pythagorean theorem or things like that. So what we're going to do is use the law of sines instead. Now, I was able to find that angle pretty easily, but let's go to side B, okay? I want to find B. Here's the trick with how you set up law of sines, okay? So what you're going to do is you always start with the one that you're trying to find. I'm going to say, I want to find side length B. And you're going to set that up as a fraction, and you're going to set it equal to the letter that you know both the side and the angle of. So which letter do we know both the side and the angle of? I've got A. I've got angle A here and side A there. So I'm going to set that equal to A. Now, the question is, which form do we use? Because if I were to look back at this, I've got two forms. Do I set it up like this top one, or do I set up like the bottom one? Why is it going to be set up like the bottom one? You're finding a missing side, so you want the sides on top. It makes the algebra easier. So when I set this up, it's going to look like this. I'm going to have B over sine of B is equal to A over sine of A. except now I'm going to plug in our values. We don't know what B is, right? But we do know what angle B. What is angle B? Now be careful when you put this in your calculator. It's going to open sign with a parenthesis. Make sure you close it after you put the 48 in. All right, now that's equal to A over sine of A. A is 8, and angle A is 36 degrees. And if you do this right, there should only be one variable, which is B. And that's what we want, because then we can solve for it. All right, now let's go through and let's solve it, and then I'll review it to make sure we're all on the same page. B is not alone, it's being divided by the sine of 48, so what would we need to do to both sides to get B alone? Yeah, it's being divided by the sine of 48, so we're going to do the opposite operation, which is multiply by the sine of 48. Now, on the left, these are going to cancel out, leaving me with just B. On the right, I'm going to have to put that into my calculator. But guys, before you do, you already know what do you have to check. On your calculator, what are you checking? Before you go and put in sine or cosine? Make sure you're in degrees, right? So check your mode, make sure you're in degrees, and then you're going to put in 8 times the sine of 48, make sure you close your parentheses, and then divide that by sine of 36, close the parentheses. Let's have everyone plug that in. No one shout out the answer just yet. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. And then once you have it, peek over at what your neighbor's calculator says. Did they get the same thing? All right, Kimberly, what did you get? 10.11? Or if we just go to the 10th, 10.1. What do you guys think? Did you get that as well? Looking at our picture, would it make sense that if A is 36 degrees and A is 8, that B, which is a slightly bigger angle, would be about 10? Sure. Nice. That makes sense to me. All right. Now, are we solved? We got B is 10.1. What do we still need to find? Okay, this is going to be very similar. We're going to say what we want to find, set it equal to what we know. So now I'm going to come over here and say we want to find C. Technically, now I know both A and B, but I'm going to stick with A because I like its letters better, okay? But I'm going to say, all right, let's set this equal to the fraction that we know, which is going to be A. We're finding a missing side, so it's going to be just like the one we just did. I'm going to have C over sine of C, which I always feel patriotic when I say that. Maybe I'm thinking from C to shining C, but whatever. C over sine of C equals A over sine of A. Now I'm going to pause right there, and I'm going to let you guys plug in the numbers and solve for C. Because you've got this example on your left. Just follow that same thing, except you're using C now instead of B. All right, Micah, tell me what you put in there.
Equation?
Yeah.
I put 8 times the sine
Or,
of...
sorry, hold on, you're getting too far ahead of me. I meant just like plugging it into the equation first, and then we'll get to your
Oh,
calculator.
okay, so I said 8 over the sine of 36 is equal to C over the sine of 96.
And you said C over sine of 96, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So then, just like on the last one we did, we want to get C alone, it's being divided, so we're going to multiply by what it's being divided by, which was the sine of 96. So then, Micah, you said you put that into your calculator, and what did it give you?
13.5.
With our picture, would it make sense for C to be 13.5? Yeah, because look, it's a longer side like it's the biggest angle, so it should be the biggest side, right? Okay, good job. That is how you use the law of sines to find a missing side. Not too shabby, right? Do you have any questions on how we set that up? Going once, going twice. All right, then let's go on to another one. Solve triangle ABC given that A is 7, B is 6, and angle A is 26.3. So now we're given two sides and an angle. Let's try drawing a picture. It's good practice here for us to just draw it. And if our picture is not perfect, is that okay? Absolutely, that's just fine. So I'm going to try this out. So A is going to be 26.3. Here's triangle A, and I'm going to say this is B and this is C. Which means that this is side A, this is side B, and this is side C. Okay, what was given to us on this one? What do we know about this triangle? Alright, angle A is 26.3 degrees. Side A is 7, and side B is 6. Now, do we know a side and an angle of the same letter? So, what does that mean we can do? Can we find, that means we can use the law of sines, right? That's what I was trying to say there. To use the law of sines, you need to know the side and the angle of a letter, and then one other thing, which is we know what B is, and it's 6, okay? It kind of looks like we broke B twice. I'll make that 6 a little more curvy. Is that better? Alright, so now let's set this up. So if I know side B, what does that mean we can solve for? Angle B, because yeah, let's make a list of what we don't know, okay? We don't know angle B. We also don't know angle C, and then we don't know side C. So we're going to start off by finding angle B using the law of sines. Once I know B, could I figure out what C is pretty easily? Yeah, we just subtracted from 180, that's not too bad. And then once I know angle B, could I use the law of sines again to get side C? Yeah, that's going to be kind of our process here. And if you're like, that's too much for me to think about, well, let's just do it one step at a time. Let's start with finding angle B. So I'm going to put a little note here. We're going to do this underneath. I want to find angle B. Now, again, which letter do we know both the side and the angle of? A. So we're going to set this equal to the side that, or the letter that we know, which is A. Now, last time we solved for missing side, now we're solving for missing angle. Is that going to change the way that we do things? Yes, which version of the formula are we going to use here? Sines on top, the angles on top. And you'll see why in just a second. That's going to make our life a little easier. So, in general, it's going to look like this. We're going to do the sine of B over B is equal to the sine of A over A. Alright, and then Adam, I want you to fill in for us what are the things that we know. Let's rewrite it now, but with the things that we know. Alright, so let's do that. So I'm going to do sine of B, because we don't know that, over 6 is equal to
sine of 26.3 over 7.
Alright, good job. So we just substituted in there what we knew. Now, let's solve for B. First off, it's being divided by 6. So just like last time, what should I do? Let's multiply by 6 on both sides. Okay? Okay, so then before you go putting that in your calculator, we're not quite there yet, because this is still the sine of B that's equal to the right side, the sine of 26.3 degrees times 6 divided by 7. We don't want the sine of B, we just want plain old B, but it's being acted on by sine. So how do we undo a sine? We're going to do the arc sine, also known as the inverse sine of both sides. Good job. So when I do the inverse sine here, that's going to cross it out. It's going to go, leaving me with just b. But if I do that to the left side, then I also need to do it to the right side. Now, when you go to put this into your calculator, make sure you're careful with your parentheses, because you're going to do inverse sine of this entire thing. Well, when you put in sine, it's going to give you another parenthesis, so you have two open parentheses. So close the first one here, times by 6 divided by 7, and then close the second. Let's all practice putting that into our calculator and see if it gives us the same answer. Brindley, will you tell me what you get once you get that? And since that's an angle, that's it, degrees, right? So, first off, do you guys agree with that, 22.3? Awesome. So let's come up here, and let's actually put that in there. Let's say that this is 22.3. Now, it's good, I know our picture's not drawn perfectly, but if angle A is 26.3 and its opposite side is 7, side B is 6, so do we expect angle B to be bigger or smaller than A? Smaller, because this made a side 7, and so this angle needs to be a little smaller to make that 6. 22.3 is a little bit smaller than 26.3, right? So that makes sense. Okay, so now we found angle B. It shouldn't be too hard to find angle C from here. What are we going to do on that one, Tara? Easy stuff. So let's just figure that out real quick. 180 minus 26.3 minus 22.3. Will someone shout that out once they get it? 131.4. Awesome. Thanks, Adam. So that's angle C. So guys, we are done with the angles. We got all three of them. Now, all that's leaving behind here is side C. So, this is going to be the law of sines again, but this time for a missing side. We know, or so what we're trying to find here is side C. And at this point, we know both A and B, so you can kind of choose. I'm going to just stick with A since that's what we did before. Okay, now this is where I'm going to push the pause button, because you've seen solving for missing side twice now, so you should be a little more familiar with it. Set it up using the right formula, plug it in, and then solve. And let's see if you can do it on your own. Alright guys, I'm kind of showing my work up top. Does this match what you did? What did you get for C? Sorry, we say it again. 11.9. Do you guys agree? That seems to match our picture. C is our biggest angle, so therefore side C should be our biggest side, right? Alright, let's pause on that. So far, how are you feeling? Give me 1 through 5 with how you feel about law of sines. 1 being low, 5 being high. 1 through 5, how are you feeling? Good, it looks like you're doing pretty good. Alright, I like it, I like it. Okay, so, of course, this is when we're going to throw a wrench into it, okay? But it's going to be okay. Now, let's try to draw this picture again. It's kind of similar to what we saw before, but a little bit different, okay? We've got triangle ABC. We're given angle A is 30 degrees, side A is 6, and side B is 7, okay? So now I'm going to draw this out real quick. So I'm going to call this angle A right here. And I want your picture to actually look like mine for this one, okay? So I'm going to draw my picture here. And do I like that? Yeah, we're going to call that good. Okay, so this is angle A, this is B, and this is C, which makes this A, B, and C. Okay, let's fill in what we know about this triangle. Angle A is 30 degrees. Side B is 7, and side A is 6. Alright, now, could we go through and just handle this the same way we did last time? Yes. So, here's what we're going to do. Let's actually just go through this double time, okay? So, what we know is given there in green. What we need to find is going to be in blue. So, we still need to find angle B. Then we find angle C, and then we find side C. So, the order we're going to do this is angle B, then angle C, then side C. Alright, so let's start with finding angle B. So if I'm trying to find B, first off, guys, what letter do we know both the side and the angle of? So we're going to set it equal to A. Are we going to have sides up top or angles on top? Angles, because what are we trying to find? Angles. So I'm going to do sine of B over B is equal to sine of A over A. And I'm going to throw that out to Brandon. Will you fill that in for me? I don't know what angle B is, but will you tell me the rest?
Lowercase b will be 7, sine of a will be sine of 30, and lowercase a will be 6.
Awesome. Hey, you guys know what the sine of 30 is, don't you? Think of your unit circle. What was the height at 30 degrees? Anybody? Okay, put in your calculator. It is 1/2. Good job. Okay, well, you guys don't speak up. You got to realize two things. One, you're talking through a math, and then number two, I don't hear as well. So just be louder, because you're right most of the time. And if you're wrong, I'll be nice about it. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go. Are we happy here? What is my next step? So I'm going to get rid of the 7 underneath, right? Great. Good step. Now let's come over here. So I'm going to do sine of B is equal to the sine of 30 degrees, which is 1/2, times 7 divided by 6. But what am I going to need to do to get rid of that sine? Arc sine. So I'm going to do sine of the -1 of both sides. And then that's going to be what I put into my calculator, all right? Now we should all practice putting that in, but as soon as someone gets what angle B is, shout it out, and we'll get someone to confirm it, and then we'll call it good.